Francisco, welcome and thank you so much for joining us here on Future Speak today.
I think mental health is one of the main problems that we are seeing. We are seeing it more frequently in the future. I feel that it is underrated, right? It's like people are not paying attention to that. It's like, oh, you are weak, or you are, let's work. Listen, I need my time. I need my time to get the balance again, to be strong again, no?
Francisco, welcome and thank you so much for joining us here on Future Speak today. You and I have had some fabulous conversations about life in general, work, communities, both in Europe, the UK and the States. And you're doing a lot for the HR community right now. I'd love you to explain a little bit more about who you are and what you do, and then let's get into it. Let's talk about the future of work and what it means to you.
Thank you so much, Sam, for inviting me for this opportunity to talk with you about the future of work and the challenges. And thank you for inviting me. It's a real pleasure. Generally delighted to be here with you to talk about things that matter, right, in the future. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the co-founder of Behavioural. Behavioural is the first company applying behavioral economics methods to HR and talent, more completely now in talent acquisition. We are trying to take off again after this terrible pandemic. And that's me. I'm an active member of our HR community on Twitter, LinkedIn, and literally everywhere. I founded some communities with Nikki Hoyland, Tracy Spornenberg, Jeffrey Zapito. Also, interacting all the time with Barbie Winterborn too, and many others, and trying to raise awareness about how important that is, putting our people first, always. No, but that's me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're so right. The people piece is becoming more and more important as we go through accelerated change. When we talk about the future of work, what does it mean to you?
Well, the future of work for me is I envision and also imagine daily, different workplaces, right? Different ways of work. I think it's not the same anymore. This pandemic, with all the bad things that brought to us, but also the good things that we should embrace and trying to take advantage of it. I think, productivity and workplaces are not the same anymore. Talent now is deciding where to work, when to work, and, I'm picking carefully their projects and organizations. And, as a consequence, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we need to think carefully, what is the best for us and for our teams. And I envision a really flexible workplace. I think it's, we could talk about asynchronous work, how to engage our people, our team, how to foster retention. For instance, we have seen mostly in the US and also in the UK, this great resignation. And I think it's everything is related to flexibility, and engagement. Even this is an overused word, but our responsibility is to think carefully about it and how to also, put in practice different approaches to effectively engage again our teams, right? And what I'd love to see is, flexible workplaces, where people are in the center, in reality, where people can decide when to work. We can think about, for instance, fully remote workplaces, but also hybrid. I like hybrid because you are keeping the best of both worlds, right? It's like, you are keeping the human interaction that, as you know well, is really important to avoid isolation on all those things. But at the same time, I don't have to commute I don't have to waste time, going to the office daily, and I have more time to be with my family, to support my family, and also to deal with personal challenges, right? I think mental health is one of the main problems that we are seeing. We are seeing it more frequently in the future, and then it's not I think sometimes I feel that it is underrated, right? It's like people are not paying attention to that. It's like, oh, you are weak, or you are, let's work. Listen, I need my time. I need my time to get the balance again, to be strong again. No, more diverse workplaces, more flexible, more humanistic, and as a consequence, more productive and performing better. That's my vision.
And I love it. And you're so right. It's that inclusivity piece. We are seeing more and more of it. There's also quite a bit of confusion, isn't there, at the moment, in terms of we've had this trust over the last couple of years, and now in certain sectors and certain organizations, they're saying, okay, we now want you all back in the office, almost retracting their trust, which is in some areas causing issues, whilst other companies are saying, do you know what? We're going to keep this as it is. We're going to offer, to your point, a hybrid solution. You said something there that was really interesting, and I just want to go back to that. And that was the piece about mental health and the fact that we need to continue with that ongoing support as we continue to progress with whatever our future of work looks like. Do you think mental health issues as a result of the pandemic will be more prevalent over the next month and maybe a couple of years? Or do you think we are dealing with some of the worst issues now? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think the pandemic has a lot to say here, right? People were dealing with their own emotions. People were suffering. Sometimes they couldn't visit their loved ones, die, or in the hospital, or struggling with health, and that is so hard. And people have those emotions inside. If you study a little bit about how our brain works, retaining those emotions inside, it can in the future cause us some issues. Above all, mental health, anxiety, depression, isolation. I think those are consequences of this terrible pandemic. Fear. People were scared. They didn't know what to expect. About the future. People turned into more impatient than ever. We know that thanks to our science, Behavioural Economics, we conducted a research during the pandemic, and we observed that people were being more impatient than ever. Right? Wow. They were focused only in the short time, because when your health is in risk, you don't have time to think in the future. And then those things are real, are consequences of these confinement, restrictions. Also fear. Also, for me and from our perspective, this whole pandemic has been like a public goods game. It's a game. It's an economic game that we use to assess some behavioral preferences, and then it's a game where people have to put something in the common pool to get the goal, right? And we saw this so frequently with people that, I don't want to wear a mask. I'm not going to be vaccinated. Those things where people were not cooperating, and then those disbalances, causes to fear, discomfort, stress, anxiety, and then how to deal with that in the office with your teammate. If your teammate is not how to deal with that, and then find the balance between mental health issues and productivity and performance and so on. It's really difficult, and that is not possible if we don't approach this from the human perspective. Some business owners can be afraid of, if I'm soft or if I'm weak, approaching my people, they are not going to perform. You are absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong. If you treat your people as humans, if you trust them, if you also are trustworthy, they will never forget that. Literally, they will never forget that, and they are gonna pay you back, right? And that is what I see. Also, I would like to see more initiatives in the mental health space. Huge corporations. It depending on your means, right, or the means that you have or resources that you have. If you are small, perhaps you don't have it. But if you are a big corp, why not to have a psychologist in your corporate, and then trying to support your people during those days that they are in the office, or also facilitating appointments, online appointments with your psychologist, to be able to thrive, right? Because sometimes you feel blocked, you feel trapped, and then you need to deblock your brain again to be able to move forward, right? That's my vision.
Yeah, and I think there's a piece here that certainly I've witnessed over the last couple of years, and I've seen it here in the UK, and I'm seeing it in the US as well, which is this whole aspect of judgment seems to become more acute. There's less tolerance for who you voted for, your vaccination status, other opinions, but those are obviously the two biggies that we've had to deal with over the last couple of years. I know that's going slightly off topic in terms of the future of work, but there's still relevance in terms of that intolerance to someone who's got a different opinion to you, and yet we're asking for a more inclusive workplace. Somehow those two right now still seem out of kilter.
Yeah. No, I adamantly agree with that. And we need to understand that when people feel threatened, or there is a fear or something that can put in risk our stability, our routine, our role, summarizing, people can become less tolerant. Right. And our responsibility is to, speak up and act, with kindness and respect and compassion. Also in families, right? Also in families, I was struggling a little bit with my family too, because there were different opinions. There were different ways of perceiving this pandemic, and you have to deal with it because you don't choose your family, right? But when we are talking about organizations, there is a common error. Organizations are not families. I'm going to explain why. They are communities, right? You can't fire your brother. You can't fire your mom, right? But you can fire an employee. It's part of the process, part of the life, but if you approach this from the humanistic perspective, saying, okay, Sam, perhaps this is not your place. I'm observing that you are not feeling comfortable. You are not happy here. You're not able to put in practice all your potential, and then we can help you to do that. Perhaps you need to find another place, right? Because you are not producing, you are not performing as you can do. At least something is going on here. And then we tried to help you in the past, but obviously it doesn't work. That kind of approach, that kind of conversation about the negative feedback, and then understanding there is something there as humans that sometimes you can't control, but your responsibility as business owners or entrepreneurs to bring that to the table, to have those tough conversations. I also love Claude Silver. I love the work she is doing in Verne Media, with this approach, love, compassion, humanity, and addressing those tough conversations as soon as possible.
Exactly. And when you're dealing with those difficult conversations, it doesn't always mean you're going to have an answer right there and then. It's the fact that you're able to talk about it to then be able to come up with the best possible answer or solution. And I think a lot of the time, this is what people are most fearful of. And when we look at how much change is going on, there's a whole piece, isn't there, around, with so many people now working from home, working behind a camera, working from anywhere. If we need those difficult conversations, I need that conversation with you because I have to have a solution now. And this is causing a lot of problems even today in the workplace, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I can share with you a real example in Behavioural. We've recently hired a person to work in our marketing department. We said, this is not about hours. This is not about timetables. This is not about, being in the office. I don't care if you work at night or during the day or in the beach, right? In an apartment that you have or wherever, I don't care. I literally don't care. But if you are not accountable, if you are not performing or being productive, obviously this is not your culture, right? You can be in my team. I decide my team. As owners, we decide what kind of culture we want to spread. And then there are going to be people that fit and others not. If you are not those, you can't be here because you are going to suffer. Mm-hmm. You're going to suffer. It's not your environment. And then, you are not be able to deal with uncertainty and those kind of things, right? I'm going to give you the opportunity to be happy working with us, with freedom, with accountability, with resources, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't want to, this is not your organization.
Exactly. And there is more choice. It's also interesting to see that we are seeing such a huge introduction of small businesses into the workplace. And I think I read a really interesting report that said this year alone in the States, we will see 17 million new businesses being formed, of which a lot of these people are people who haven't run their own businesses before. Personally, I think this is a big opportunity for individuals, for them to become business owners and to create that community and commercial opportunities in a different way. How can organizations like yours really make the most of that emerging market? And what do you see as the opportunity there?
Yeah. First of all, entrepreneurship, we have to be responsible. No, saying that entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Absolutely.
You know this well.
Yes,
super tough. Yeah, and me too. That is super tough. Super tough. That is not the fluffy tale where you are super happy. You have all the money. No. Listen. Ups, downs, struggles on the way, roadblocks that you have to deal with. It's not for everybody, but But at the same time, if you want to do it, it's your opportunity to take control of your life, no? Financially, and and working, in what is your passion, right? If you feel the fire inside, do it, right?
All about the fire.
Exactly. And talking about opportunities and challenges, I think we are trying to raise awareness about the human side, right? That's a behavior, and our product is aiming to help organizations to raise awareness about this, and then as a consequence, creating better workplaces. If you are small and you are scaling up, perhaps today you are so close to your employees, to your teammates, because you are small. But then when you are scaling up, you have to protect the culture that you are creating, and then the energy, the environment. You have to assure that you are creating the culture where your people can be themselves and can thrive. Right, that is the most important thing to me.
Absolutely, with you.
And then you have to measure. You need data. But you don't need data about performance or productivity. Quite often, companies tell me, but I can fire people with your solution. You can. But, I would fire people because they are not performing or they are not producing, because of my platform, right?
Exactly. It's not because of.
Exactly. It's like, what I'm trying to help you, or what I'm providing you is with information about their intrinsic behaviors. Because here again, there are many organizations, doing psychometrics or psychological tests. And don't get me wrong, I like them. What I like the most is Big Five or Exacto. I think are the best, in my humble opinion. But there are many organizations, embracing this approach, and that is super cool. But you have to know that you are assessing or you are getting indirect information, right? I don't care, Sam, if you are extrovert or not. I truly don't care, right? That is not important to me. What I care the most, if you are envious, if you are compassionate or not, if you are a cooperator or not, if you are spiteful or not, if you are impatient or not, you know what I mean? And then that is super direct, because the way you behave in the workplace is going to affect the way we thrive as an organization. And if I'm trying to protect my culture, obviously I need to pay attention to this information, objective information, because we are all biased. We are all subjective. The way we perceive the world is the way we interpret the reality. And then, as a consequence, I'm biased, right? I'm an extrovert, and also like extrovert people, right? But perhaps I'm making a bad decision, because perhaps the introvert is the right one for my organization at that point, or for that position, or for that role. As a consequence, I don't pay attention to indirect or superficial traits. What I pay attention the most, if you are adaptable or not, if you're dealing well, if you are able to deal well with uncertainty, for instance, that is so important just right now. If you have this intrinsic motivation, because even when you don't have the technical skills, you can learn it.
Exactly. And that's huge, isn't it? Technical skills can be taught. Your aptitude is, and I'm seeing it more and more on LinkedIn, with people actually hiring for aptitude rather than the skills they got, because they're finally, thankfully, recognizing that actually, if you've got the right attitude out of someone, they will learn because they want to be there, not because they've already got the skills. And that's wonderful to see. And it's, it was interesting what you were saying about things like compassion and the skills that really matter, extrovert versus introvert, and that perspective. And certainly when I look at our business, I've gone out of my way. I have made a conscious decision to recruit people who are not like me. I don't need people around like me. I want to be challenged. I want people to say, actually, have you thought about that? You could do it that way, Sam, you know? And that helps with growth, right? And by allowing people to do that, it goes back to what you said earlier around the whole communication piece. But if we're not getting the right data about the people that we're looking to work with, notice I didn't say employee, I think we now work with people. If we don't get the right data in the first place, to your point, how can we grow an engaged workforce?
You can't. You can't. If you don't have data, literally it doesn't exist. You know, I'm going to give you another example. You know, yesterday precisely, I was talking with a client. You know, because they were in their hiring process in Latin America, and they were to pick one person without an assessment. Right, because the interview was really well, and the chemistry was great, and supposedly he has the technical skills. Once this person was assessed in my platform, I said, "Listen, you can do whatever you want, but you are making a bad decision about this person." Because this person is not able to put in practice this strategic reasoning, doesn't have self-awareness, is impatient, is not flexible in negotiate. You know, look, you can do whatever you want, but you should do this first, right? Without checking CVs, without checking profile pics. Because we know by the science that we love beautiful people, right? Who don't?
Yeah.
Who doesn't, right? It's like we love the beauty is there, right? But again, you know, we need to protect diversity, inclusion, and equity, and then, you know, assess first, then go through the interview. Perhaps once you have the information, you are not gonna pass this person to the interviewing process. You know what I mean? Once you are there, well, this person can be really good doing interviews, and then they can ghost you because we are subjective and we love compliments and, you know,
of course we do.
Kind of things. You know, I'm an extrovert, right? I can find a way to please you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But then it's about authenticity, it's about behavior, it's about other things. You know. Don't get confused with the chorus of, you know, snakes or whatever, right? Make decisions based on data and science. You know, at least, you know, the challenge here is trying to convince all those small businesses to be more data-driven, for instance, right?
Yeah.
And embracing this experimental mindset. You know, try new things. Try new things. You don't have anything to lose if you try. At least you are going to learn during the process. But if you are doing the same that everybody is doing, what is going to be the result?
Exactly.
Perhaps the same.
Exactly. And by trying new things, I'm really interested you say that. I was talking to someone yesterday where actually I was saying, we're now in an era where we're all going to fail a lot, and that's okay. And the reason why is we are all trying new things. That works, that doesn't. That works, that doesn't. And that's okay. And in fact, that's good. But it's how we deal with that and take that learning and then move on. This is the piece that's going to be so interesting as we see businesses and our behaviors evolve.
Yeah. And this is not about control.
No.
This is not about micromanagement. But obviously you need tools you need tools, you need data, you need, people experimented like you, Sam, with experience, through the years to be able to articulate the best plan to grow. And that is priceless. If you are able to combine, that kind of mix, right? Experimented people professionally and tools that provide you with really objective information. You're gonna be able to make a difference. Then afterwards, you need to cope with the most difficult part of the business, and that is managing people, right? Yeah. Managing people, super difficult, the most difficult part. And I see quite often people are struggling managing people because they were promoted, because they were high performance or top performance, and then they don't have the emotional intelligence or these emotional tools to deal with people effectively and develop situations and unleash the potential that they have. And that is super difficult. And also I'm finding many people that are rigid because they see the world in a particular manner, and then they don't understand others' perspectives. The result, yes. They suffer a lot, and they don't understand why their teams are not performing, or whatever, or why are not you creating a community. Your team is divided in silos, and then you can manage that situation. Look, you should look yourself. There is not professional change if you don't embrace a personal change. It's about transformation. It's about transformation. It's not transactional. If you want to get the best of your team, you should change yourself first.
Yes, and it's interesting that it's transformational, not transactional. I love that expression. It's so powerful. Many years ago, I went on my own journey, and I'm still on it today, which is many years before the pandemic. I made a decision, a conscious decision, that any events I went to, I would go and talk to people who weren't like me, to people that I wouldn't normally go and talk to. And I would listen and I would learn. Now, as a result of that, I met a lady 6 years ago. She's a psychologist and researcher for the London School of Economics. 48 hours ago, she got in touch with me and asked if she could interview me as a woman of influence, because she remembered meeting me all those years ago and she'd kept my card. Now, if I hadn't made that decision and I hadn't made that connection, I wouldn't be able to pick up that conversation that I'd had with her. So that transformation is incredibly powerful. In fact, it helps us with our growth mindset. It helps us to change, and it will help our businesses to grow. Now, this takes me on nicely to one of my final questions for you, Fran, and that's when you look at the role that you're playing now, and like I said to you at the beginning, you have done so much for the HR community. You've worked tirelessly for and with us over the last 2 to 3 years. How do you see your role evolving?
I think it's about purpose. It's about purpose. You said really well. Last 3 years, I was tireless, lifting up my folks, and supporting everybody, creating spaces where people can talk with transparency, authenticity, raising awareness about people first approaches, and humanity and kindness. Joanna Subarna here is one of the giants, fostering kindness in the workplace in the UK. Also, Perry Teams, Steve Brown, and Tracy, many others. And that is my role. I have to say, sometimes I need a break.
Of course you do.
Because it's super demanding.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. And sometimes I'm a little bit less active, right? Because I have many connections that now they become friends. They became friends. I'm hustling, I could say, in the dark, no, but in the other part, right? In the other side, no publicly in LinkedIn or Instagram or Twitter, but yes, sending messages and nurturing the relationships. But yeah, definitely my role here is, from my humble perspective, being able to give a voice for those who don't have a voice, and creating spaces where we can discuss openly about things that matter.
Yeah.
In reality. And now, fluffy things or, the typical topics, let's talk about, how to give negative feedback, protecting the person. Let's talk about, how to create, better workplaces, better cultures, those things, how to deal with your team, having tough conversations, those things, and also, HR and talent acquisition pros were supporting, or they were the pillars of the organizations last 3 years, and most of them became burnout or became depressed, as you can imagine. And our responsibility from our side is to support them, help them to be balanced, to those things. My role is, because I love communication, and I never tired to say that, one of the most important things, professionally is improving your communication skills. If you're able to do it, people are going to get the message that you are trying to deliver more accurately. And then as a consequence, you're going to be understood better. And then you're going to make an impact, right? If you, and this for me is really clear. If you start with communication issues, then you're going to have people issues. And finally, you're going to get into business issues.
Of course you are. Yeah.
And because of that, communication for me is absolutely critical. I don't care if I over communicate. It's like, sometimes we should do it. But then we should over communicate, not always, saying, okay, Sam, how is your day going? You did this, that, did you do this task or whatever? Or no, sometimes it's, Sam, how are you? How are you feeling today? And being able to articulate those kind of conversations personally and professionally, and then you are doing this. It's super hard because you have to be consistent, and sometimes you don't feel great to do it, but we should. It's the difficult part of this, but again, communication, and I know you love that, is super important.
Yeah, I do. And it's, I get you with that consistency piece. I think that's the toughest thing of all. And it'll be interesting to see, as we all evolve as business owners, and the same with large organizations, what does that consistency look like? I don't think we yet know where it's going, and what good consistency looks like. We'll find out in time, right?
Yes, and I would like to throw to the air Because I don't usually give pieces of advices because I think I don't see me in that part, but but many times, because you are not doing those check-ins, at the end you found or you find that some person is going through a hard time with family or whatever, or those kind of things. No, if you are trying to nurture in your relationship, don't be afraid to call first, to text first, to be there for others first, if you have to do it, right? Put your ego aside and do it, because that is my role here, right? Too. I don't care if I call first. Why not?
Exactly.
I want to know about you. How is it going and your life? If you are doing great, if you are finding some or going through trying times or tough moments, if I can put my ear there for you, and then perhaps you're gonna feel better. That's my thing. And that is about communication. That is and we should do it with our people, with our teams too, right? Sometimes my fault too. Sometimes I can't, or sometimes I don't feel great, but it doesn't change my purpose or the way I see the world, right? We are not perfect. We are humans, right? Don't punish yourself so much, or to be super hard with yourself. Be self-compassionate, and and trying to be a better person at the end of the day is what I'm trying to do.
Fran, I could talk to you for hours, as you know.
Likewise.
Thank you for sharing your perspectives on the future of work and making it so personal. Everyone's on our own journey. You've demonstrated that so clearly today. I'd love to have you on as a guest again soon. And
anytime.
Brilliant. Thank you, Fran. Take care.
Thank you so much. Take care.